everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be taking a look at this album, Paul Weller's classic 1995 album Stanley Road. So in this video I'll just be doing my usual thing, giving a bit of background information about the record, then show you my vinyl copy as well as a CD version like of the album which I've got, and then I will look at each of the album songs in detail. So as I said, this was his third solo album, released on the 7th of June in 1995. By this point, Weller had very much established himself like as a solo artist, like with 2 successful albums behind him. Like he was also like well respected like among like a lot of newer and like younger bands like off like the time, and like was given the tag like the Mod Father like by like the music press. The record was recorded at the Manor Studios, where countless bands recorded, like notably like XTC, I think like U2 like also worked there like as well. However, this was like one of like the last records like to be like recorded like at like the Manor like before it closed. So a lot of like the themes like on this album involve Weller like looking back like towards like his childhood, like not only like on like the cover like designed by like Peter Blake, which sort of like references like which is sort of like references like a lot of like Weller's like idols, like, but also like the title like itself, like Stanley Road, that was the street like where he grew up on like in Woking. And this was a really big hit album for Paul Weller. Like it reached #1 like in like the UK charts and yielded 4 top 20 singles, and like stayed like in like the top 30 like for the best part like of like a year. And critically it got mostly a positive reception, like whether some felt that it was like inferior like to like his last 2 records. Like some like critics I said it was like a bit too like overproduced, a little bit like too like overblown. Like whether like Weller like himself like is like very proud like off like this album like, and like the songs like to this day continue to make up like a big part like of like his live set list. And like I've already mentioned like the actual like sleeve here like but it was designed like by like Peter Blake, like who also designed the cover like to Sgt. Pepper, so he like done like a great job like designing like this album. But before I show my vinyl copy, I've got this deluxe CD which I would recommend to pick up, because on here you get 3 discs. You get the original album like as well as like the B-sides from it, plus like a whole disc like of demos, which is really a great listen, because it kind of like it's sort of like they also like run into one another, so it kind of just sounds like a sort of like rehearsal tape, but it's really good, like really like great quality stuff there. It opens up like so, you got nice pictures of Well there, and then you've got like your 2 discs in here. Plus as well on this a DVD which has a half-hour long documentary on it, as well as all of the music videos. So yeah, this is a really great bag. There's a wee booklet like in here like as well, so that's the deluxe edition of Stanley Road. And then there's this vinyl copy here. Now this has thankfully been reissued, I think last year it came out. However, this is a original copy like which I got like some time ago. I've always loved like the cover like of this, like as I said, like Peter Blake done a brilliant job designing it. This is all like a gatefold design, opens up like this, you get the song titles as well as credits with who plays like on like each track. Another really nice picture like of Weller there. And then it comes out off like the inside here, a bit like Our Favourite Shop like by the Style Council. And then like you get sort of more studio pictures, the lyrics on the other side, and the record is on a nice custom label here, a bit like the Abbey Road sort of like design, like it has to be said, but like has to be said, but like Weller was such a big like Beatles fan, like you can kind of like understand again like sort of like paying homage to them. Okay, so I'll now go over each of the album's songs. There's 12 tracks in total, so I'll just score each track out of 10, and then those scores will be used to give us a overall percentage marking for the album. The opening track is The Changingman, which is a really strong like opener like for the record. The riff on this is very much like derived from ELO's song like 10538 Overture. Like I believe like it was actually like a sample like of that like which was used. Unfortunately though, I don't think Jeff Lynne like actually like ever like got credited like for it, like which is a little bit like off like a shame, because it is like his riff like at the end like off like the day. Like whether like Weller does use it like in like quite a different context like to create like a very sort of like swaggering like sort of like rocking track. Lyrically this song like would become like somewhat like off Weller's sort of like theme song, because like of its themes like off like always changing like his style like and like his sound. So yeah, like a really great song there. It was the lead single from the album, hit #7 on the UK charts. So yeah, The Changingman, a really great song. Just a porcelain god. And then the next number is called Porcelain Gods, which I'm giving a full 10 out of 10 to this track. This song is a real grower like off a song, because it's one which, like, when I first heard it, not too keen on it. However, once like you sort of like get to know like the lyrics, like the meaning behind them, it becomes a really, really fantastic listen. Like, it's a more sort of like slower, like brooding number, like with some sort of like more sort of tribal drumming, like from like Steve White. Like I said, like with like the lyrics, it's sort of like deal like about like fame, like and like sort of like people like you that idolize Weller, like, and also like kind of like the doubts like he felt like after like the demise like of like the Style Council. Like there's lines like such as like how disappointed I was to find me part of no plan. That part like of the song is just really like melodic. It just really flows like so well. Plus it has some absolutely killer like lead guitar like playing like from like Weller, like I believe. So yeah, Porcelain Gods will get a 10 out of 10 from me.
Walk on, Gilded, Splinters, king of the zoo.
The next number though is probably the weakest on the album for me. It's a song called I Walk on Gilded Splinters, which is the only sort of cover song like which like Weller does like on this album. Like it's a song originally by an artist called Dr. John, and like certainly like Weller, like he makes this song like his own, like kind of like you can be forgiven for thinking that this is like a like original like composition, because it's very sort of like it's very much like done like in like Weller's like comfort zone. I would say though it's very similar like to Porcelain Gods. Like these songs that really like they do go like hand in hand. Like however, like it is like a little bit like too similar. Like it's very slow, sort of like very sort of bluesy number. I do think though that the song it kind of like meanders on like a little bit too long, and like the actual like sort of like lyrics like and like the melody, like I just don't think like all like that great. Like to be honest with you, this one also features guest contribution from Noel Gallagher, like who plays like some like acoustic guitar. Like whoever, like you can barely hear him, like just because like everything else like is like kind of like so loud like in like the mix. So yeah, personally for me, like a song which I don't tend to skip over it, but it is one which when it's over, like I'm like quite glad.
Something to me.
However, after all that sort of like loud, that sort of like guitar jamming, like we get a lovely piano ballad like to follow it up, like one of Weller's all-time classics, You Do Something to Me, which yeah, just a brilliant ballad, like with like really nice, like heartwarming like lyrics on it. I love like the kind of like piano riff, like what opens out the song. It's just very simple, but also very like effectively performed at this track here. And like I said, like one of like Weller's like most popular songs. It hit number 9 like in like the UK charts. Just for me personally, I've maybe slightly like overheard this song because it's on like every like Weller like compilation. Like it is one of his like classic songs. But for me personally, maybe overheard it a little bit. But I'm not letting that like affect like my score because I think it is worthy like of a 10 out of 10.
Give me the chance. I cut you down with a glance.
And then following that up, we get a more sort of like swaggering rocker called Woodcutter's Son, which has a more sort of like rougher edges like on like this track, like than on like previous records, like such as like Wildwood, which was more of like a like acoustic based record. This song here, like Weller's just like turning up like his guitar, like just like really like ripping it out like on like the vocals like which do sound like quite gruff, like quite like rough, but they really work like to like enhance like this track. The drums like also just like really rock, like Steve White's like just playing like so well, so well, just like a wonderful track there, Woodcutter's Son.
As time passes so quickly.
And then closing off side 1, we get one of the more sort of underrated tracks like on the record for me. It's a song called Time Passes, which is a really underrated ballad, like sort of like Weller's singing like about like a lost love and like sort of like reminiscing like about like a like previous relationship. It's got this really nice sort of like tender like guitar parts in it, like but it still has like a bit of like beef like and like sort of like weight to it, like this song here. Like it's not all like sort of like flowery like ballad, like flat flowery ballad, like kind of like the electric guitar, like it does add like a bit of like weight like to like the song. And as I said, it's maybe like overlooked this track like on like the record, like it's hardly like one like the first ones like you think of like when you think of like the Stanley Road album, but I'd say it is one of the best like on the album for me. It does end with a kind of short snippet like off a kind of like electronic side, kind of like experimental song, a track I think what was called Steam, which was one of like the B-sides. Like it's just like a little snippet like off it like to close off this track. I mean like it works like as like a kind of like linking piece, late linking piece between this like and like the next track, because of course this was like the era like off like CDs. But for me like it doesn't quite work like closing that the end like off like the second side, like this little like snippet like off like the track Steam.
In the distance, mighty sure.
So then flipping over the record, we get the title track, which is of course Stanley Road, which is a thumping like piano-driven rocker, like where like Weller reminisces like about like the street like where like he like grew up on. I mean, this song, the introduction like alone just gets like your toe tapping to it. It's just a really rocking track. Like Steve Craddock does some like quite good, like quite like creative like guitar work like on it, like just a nicely constructed track. Again, maybe like a bit like Time Passes like isn't one which like immediately stands out because it's not like big, because it's not one of like the most like popular well-known tracks like on the album, but a really good song though, like nonetheless. We'll give it a 9 out of 10.
All our broken stones.
And then we get one of Weller's all-time classics, another one called Broken Stones, which, yeah, a great song here. And this is just really effective, like in like its simplicity. Like, it's a really soulful number. Like, Weller sings this song like absolutely perfectly. It's just like an easy song to like sing along to. Like, it's a great like sort of like live number, this like as well. Like, plus it's just like so simple. Like, he's not like overproduced this track. He's just kept like the arrangement like to like the bare minimum, which really suits this song. Another hit single from the record, although it only managed to reach number 20 like on like the UK singles charts. Like, I would say though the song like over the years like has become like a lot more like well known, like easily like a top 10 like Paul Weller solo song there.
I know it. If I'm sinking.
And the next one, which I have actually got the 12-inch single for, is Out of the Sinking, which is a kind of sort of like rocking like love song this year, which just really works. Like, Weller said that it was inspired like by like the Small Faces, and like it has that sort of like really rocking but like also very sort of soulful like nature to it. And this is a great single. This was the lead single from the album, and I believe it, when it originally came out, it hit number 20, like whether like it was reissued like in 1996, I believe, and like it got to number 16 like on like the charts. So this is the original single, like I believe, and Rag, I believe, it's got the B-sides to this are a cover of the Beatles' Sexy Sadie, as well as a remix of the song Sunflower, and it's just in this sort of plain black sleeve on this sort of label here. So that's like Out of the Sinking, another one of like the classic tracks like on this album.
Sunshine pink on white walls, and the trees stood so tall.
And now back to the album for the next track, which is called Pink on White Walls, which is some people consider this song a little bit like off like filler like on like the record. Like, I think like it is a really good song like at like the end like of the day. Like, it's a more sort of like piano based track. Again, like the great keyboardist Steve Winwood like plays like the piano part like on this song, which is just like really like effective. Like, it's just like a really like very much like off like a grower sort of track. Like, you don't think too much of it like when like you first hear it, like, but like once like you get like into the song, it just like really works. Like, it's a very like nice track there, Pink on White Walls.
Now nothing feels the same way.
And the next song, like on the record, like I would also class like as like a grower. Like, it's one which I must say like I wasn't the biggest fan of like when like I first heard it. Like, whether like it does really grow on you. It's Whirlpool's End, which is a rocking sort of like 7-minute like masterpiece. Lyrically, it is a very like interesting song. Like, I think like it's like a kind of like it's sort of like supposed to sort of contrast like two themes. Like the first verse, like it's sort of like about sort of like a war-torn sort of country, like country, like one like the lines is like a frightened baby by her dead mother's side, like, which is sort of contrasted again in like the next verse like by Weller's sort of like the comfort like of like Weller's upbringing, like with lines such as I kept on rolling on the Surrey hills in spring. I quite like how it is produced like as well, because like there's like a lot of like acoustic guitar like on it, like whoever like the song like really like still manages like to rock, like, which is like very like unique. Like, you've also got like a lot of like a lot of like electronic sound effects. Like, I believe the producer is Brendan Lynch like on like this record, so he like really like adds a lot like to like the ending like of this song. Like I said, 7 minutes, it doesn't drag on like this track here. The band is just jamming out like, but it sounds like so like fun and like also like so like epic like out at the same time as well. Just like a really like great like penultimate track there, Whirlpool's End.
Long winds of speed that will bring.
And then the closing number is a sort of more sort of gospel like influenced song called Wings of Speed, which is quite a basic song. Like, Weller's just like at like the piano for this one here. Like, it's also like enhanced like by like a vocal contribution from a singer, Carleen Anderson. Her voice like nicely contrasts like with like Weller's, like, which makes the song like quite like unique. Like, I mean, it isn't my favourite like on the record. It's not one which I would tend to play like in isolation like off the album, but coming after sort of like the epic like sort of like rockiness of like Whirlpool's End, this very nice calming song like is just a lovely way to end the album. Okay, so overall, this album would score 91%. So I would say this is an all-time classic record here. Certainly, like, one of the best, like, off, like, the 90s. And it's probably also, like, I would say, like, Paul Weller's, like, best record. Like, although, like, I'd certainly say, like, his most recent efforts, such as Saturn's Pattern and, like, A Kind Revolution, like, do sort of, like, give this, like, a run, like, for its money. Like, I would say, like, this is definitely, like, the yardstick, like, which, like, all, like, of his, like, subsequent, like, releases, like, were, like, measured against. I mean, it really holds up like as like an album. It's very well sequenced, this like as well. Like all the tracks like tend like to blend against like one another. Like there's a nice sort of like balance like of like rockers like and like ballads. Like it's just like a really like well sequenced, like really well thought out record. And like I would say, it's just a really great sort of roundup like of like all like the brilliant things like what like Weller like could do, like rockers, ballads, like more like experimental stuff. And like this album really does like have it all. So yeah, that's my review of Paul Weller's Stanley Road. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time for the next review. Goodbye.
Fades away with a smile.